welcome to SVG-TV News for Wednesday, September 8, 2021. I am Rochelle Batiste with the details. 5 cases of the new variant of COVID-19 were detected here in SVG between July 19th and August 9th, 2021. This was announced last evening in a news release from the National Emergency Management Organization, NEMO. The new variant B1621 was named a variant of interest by the World Health Organization, the WHO, on August 30th, 2021. The release from NEMO said a variant of interest is one that has genetic differences to the other known variants and is causing infections in multiple countries and therefore might present a particular threat to public health. A variant of interest is not a variant of concern, which is a variant that has been proven to be either more transmissible, cause severe disease, or is able to escape the immune response, making it more dangerous and more consequential. It was further noted that mu is the 5th variant of interest to be monitored by the WHO since March 2020. The WHO weekly COVID-19 bulletin states that the variant of interest has a constellation of mutations that may make it less receptive to vaccines and immunity from natural infections. NEMO said on review of sequencing results for samples sent from SVG to the COVID-19 Impact Project Lab through the Caribbean Public Health Agency, CAFRA. 5 cases of the new variant were detected between July 19th and August 9th, 2021. All cases, it said, were detected within the community as contacts of other positive cases and from persons seeking health care. Meanwhile, for the holiday weekend, 10 new cases of COVID-19 were reported from 304 samples processed on Friday, September 3rd, 2021, resulting in a positivity rate of 3.3%. No new recoveries were noted over the reporting period. 8 new cases were reported from 250 samples processed on Saturday, September 4th, resulting in a positivity rate of 3.2%. 2 new recoveries were noted over the reporting period. 6 new cases were reported from 103 samples processed on Sunday, September 5th, 2021, resulting in a positivity rate of 5.8%. No new recoveries were noted over the reporting period. 4 new cases were reported from 36 samples processed on Monday, September 6, 2021, resulting in a positivity rate of 11.1%. 5 new recoveries were noted over the reporting period. 65 cases are currently active and 12 persons with COVID-19 have died. 2,389 cases of COVID-19 and 2,312 recoveries have been recorded in SVG since March 2020. The health authorities say in view of the confirmed presence of the new variant of interest in the community and the increased risk of infection and subsequent transmission of COVID-19 posed by the growing incidence of variants of concern in persons entering the country, strict compliance with all protocols and recommendations is strongly recommended. These include the effective use of masks, physical distancing, hand sanitizing, and immunization with available vaccines. Meanwhile, Minister of Health, Wellness and the Environment, Sinclair Jimmy Prince, said with the uptake of new COVID-19 cases in the country, he was advised by the Chief Medical Officer that there is suspicion of COVID-19 variants present in the country. Speaking on WeFM's Issues at Hand program on Sunday, Minister Prince said people continue to take COVID-19 for a joke.
That we will continue to do as usual. We continue to not wear masks. Continue to congregate at churches, at weddings, at funerals, at bars, at entertainment spots around the country, on the blocks, etc. Mask has become alien to some people, and that is worrying. In fact, it is alarming. Morning I was advised by the CMO that we had, between Monday on Friday, over 35 or so cases of COVID after we've tested. We now have in the 50s when it comes to the active cases. And the experts are saying that the way this thing is going up with such rapidity, we are beginning to suspect that it may be as a result of a variant of interest, namely the Delta. You know, we have already sent we have 3 cases confirmed. We've sent another 6 or 7 to Trinidad, to CAFA, to test to see whether or not they're Delta. And we have no reason to think that it may not be Delta that we're dealing with here now when we see the uptake in what's happening.
Minister Prince reminded citizens of how dangerous COVID-19 is and its impact on other countries around the world. He used the opportunity to encourage persons not to let their guard down and to get vaccinated.
We have to keep in mind, fellas, that COVID-19 is still with us and we cannot lose sight of it, even as we deal with other issues. And people dealing with demonstrations and marches and the withdrawal of services, etc. We still have COVID.
Of course.
And it is still killing people all over the world, even in the Caribbean, right next to us. You have curfews in Grenada and St. Lucia, etc. You have people piling up on each other in Jamaica. These are the realities that we are having, and St. Vincent and the Grenadines is not too far away from that. We have to keep our eyes on that still. And we're saying we'll continue to keep that service available to persons.
And Prime Minister Dr. Ralph Gonsalves said members of the Royal St. Vincent and the Grenadines Police Force did a fair job in executing their duties over the long holiday weekend, especially with enforcing the COVID-19 protocols for large gatherings. PM Gonsalves pointed out that the police were busy at one entertainment spot on Saturday as they tried to bring the crowd under control.
Have been circulated, I understand, on social media, showing on Saturday night. I mean, clearly, crowds of people which are unacceptable. The police apparently had gone there 3-4 times the Friday night and kept the numbers down to 20 or thereabouts. And I understand that it's a relatively new place with some innovative cultural performances, which are of interest particularly to men.
Another large gathering was reported in his constituency of North Central Windward on Friday, which according to the Prime Minister was not handled well by the police. He, however, noted that the proprietor of the establishment was cautioned.
The police didn't do their work. In the Northeastern Division, didn't do their work properly in relation to that inland village. For reasons I don't want to explain here, but as you could expect that I would have gotten to the bottom of it, and I know on the subsequent nights, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, they went there to the proprietor and the operator of the particular facility and spoke to him in clear and unmistakable terms.
PM Gonsalves stressed the importance of enforcing the COVID-19 protocols for large gatherings, noting the steady increase of COVID-19 cases and the new strains of the virus now in the country. He gave a stern warning to delinquent proprietors who continue to breach the protocols.
There are several things which can be done, you know. I can go the ultimate and declare state of emergency, cause a state of emergency to be declared, or a curfew. Or individual operators, the police can commence proceedings to pull their liquor licenses. And where would that leave you? So I'm asking for persons to be completely reasonable at this particular point in time.
The withdrawal of services of nurses as requested by their union representative, the Public Service Union, PSU, commenced yesterday. Speaking on the matter on radio today, PM Gonzalez, who did not provide any statistic, said all seemed to have went well, and the reports received from the hospital administrator is that there was a good turnout of nurses on the job at the Milton Cato Memorial Hospital and other health facilities with no disruption to their services.
Milton Cato Memorial Hospital and the other facilities, Louis Ponette Home, Levi Latham, Modern Medical, Louis Ponette Home, the polyclinics, and so on, that the services were delivered pretty well. I don't really want to talk about, I don't want to rub anybody knows in anything. I don't want to. I leave that just to say that it was reported to me that things are in order, broadly speaking. Had to do some shifts here and there and so forth, but broadly speaking, they handled the things fairly well.
Meanwhile, President of the PSU, Elroy Boucher, at a news conference last evening, used the opportunity to reach out to nurses island-wide to withdraw their service, as a decision they make today will affect them and their children in the long term. The membership of the PSU, which include nurses, voted to withdraw their services for 4 days from September 7th to September 10th in relation to amendments to the Public Health Act, which they say infringe on their rights.
Been pleading with the nurses not to stay home, pleading with them and reminding them of all of the whatever scholarships or whatever he did, which is a responsibility of the state, not the Prime Minister. That's a responsibility of the state. So I really do not know how many persons would have been so affected by that. What I do know, it cannot be an indictment on the union because the union are the people themselves. We are here fighting for those very nurses who have extreme difficulty with the government's policy. Not a Boucher's decision or Mr. Lewis' decision. It is a decision made by all of them, or the majority of them that were present at that meeting, save and except 2 or 3. And we would have spoken to them twice, 2 separate meetings in which they committed to withdrawing.
Boucher said nurses and other members of the PSU need not be afraid to participate in the industrial action.
The nurses and the rest of the public service covered. Whatever is necessary for us to safeguard their jobs, we will so do. If you look at the SRNO that is being put out, it's ironic. You're not being dismissed for not being vaccinated. The threat is not a dismissal for you not being vaccinated. The threat there is a dismissal for you breaking the rule to go on the compound when you're not supposed to turn up if you're not vaccinated. Misconduct for breaking a rule of not going on the compound. That is what the SRN is, and that I find rather interesting.
And the Royal St. Vincent and the Grenadines Police Force has now granted permission for the Public Service Union, the PSU, to hold its planned protest action in front of the Kingston Vegetable Market tomorrow. PRO of the PSU, Shelley and Alexander Ross, told SVGTV News via telephone interview that the union wrote a letter to the Commissioner of Police this morning and was heartened with his prompt response.
We're all aware that we didn't get the permission to do the protest in Kingston that we wanted to. So we decided today to write the commissioner again, based on the grounds that Parliament would not be sitting and the High Court is currently on holidays, because remember the Public Order Act would have been in effect If Parliament is going to be sitting, then there should be no demonstration within 20 yards. So we did write this morning to the Commissioner, and we would have gotten back a response not too long ago, acknowledging the receipt of our letter and, in fact, granting us the permission to have peaceful protests in Kingston, the Kingston Vegetable Market, and we should be restricted to that area. We were not given the permission to do the procession, but we were granted the permission to do the protests in the vicinity of the Kingston Vegetable Market.
The PSU PRO said that there was a satisfactory response by nurses who withdrew their service on Tuesday, September 7th, and today, Wednesday, September 8th, especially at the Mental Health Rehabilitation Center.
We don't have in terms of a preliminary figure, but for the areas that we did inquire, the figures will come later on today for yesterday and today, because at the end of the week we would be able to give a more holistic picture as to what transpired for the 4 days. But from the feedback we have gotten from mental health, we were told that the majority of nurses there did withdraw their services. For Milton Kids, so we only got certain areas, like the maternity unit and the male surgical area, where the majority of nurses would have, especially for today, this morning and this evening shift, would have withdrawn their services. And we're getting the numbers coming in. As they come, we're tallying the figures. So, but we don't have figures to actually give to you. We would rather wait until we get the information before we can actually provide you with that data.
Meanwhile, Prime Minister Dr. Ralph Gonsalves said the PSU planned protest action tomorrow, Thursday, September 9th, 2021, is a politically manipulated event. Speaking on the radio this morning, the Prime Minister said he has a 30-page transcript of what transpired at a meeting of the PSU when members voted to defy the police order and go ahead with the planned protest action. He said at the meeting, one person who is aligned to the opposition New Democratic Party kept intervening most of the time when concerns were raised about the planned protest action.
King, they intervened 58.8% of the times. And then the other 15 interventions, 44% of the time. You can see that in the case of these, more than 1/3 of the interventions by one man. Almost every time somebody talk and want to bring good reason, he intervenes to correct it. And that was the trend. If anybody is in any doubt that this was a politically manipulated event, take it from me, from these interventions.
In other news, Anname Lewis, the woman accused of wounding Prime Minister Gonsalves on August 5th, 2021, has been slapped with a new charge. The Layu resident is now facing a charge of throwing missiles to the danger of persons present at the protest action on August 5th, 2021. Lewis appeared before Senior Magistrate Ricky Bonnet and pleaded not guilty to the charge. She was subsequently granted bail. Kay Bacchus-Batiste, who is representing Lewis, said that the charge against her client is minor and an arrest during the holiday weekend was uncalled for.
This charge this morning is a 3-month sentence maximum. It's not something you'd go to jail for, somebody with a clean record. So, as I said, it's not a very serious charge. There was absolutely no reason to bring her in, arrest her, and bring her in to add this charge if they wanted to add it. But I suppose I can understand what is going on in their minds. It's just a question of harassing this woman. That's the way I see it. Not seeking justice.
Lewis is expected to return to court on September 15, 2021, when the matters in which she is being charged are expected to be heard. According to a lawyer, they are yet to get full disclosure for the first case, and she requested in court today that full disclosure be given before September 15th.
The matter, she is given bail, continued station bail. The matter is adjourned to the 15th of this month so that it can be heard along with the other one, and disclosure ordered for the 13th. Yeah, so that's basically it. We are just going to prepare. We haven't yet gotten disclosure from the last one, which was supposed to have been done since the 31st. I pointed that out to the court, so I would see what happens with this one.
Outside the courthouse today, Annamae Lewis said she was surprised when the police showed up at her home yesterday afternoon to arrest her yet again.
I'm saying I've been torturing, they're just torturing me for what? I know I ain't doing anything, and I've just been torturing all the while. I was out the road when I had a stall I just sell. When I there, I saw a transport parked just a little distance from me, and the guys them were sitting and they were looking. So after what about say 2-3 minutes, the vehicle come down close to me. They came out the vehicle and they go in my yard. So after I see them go in my yard, I get up and I went in. When I went in, the CID lady said, Mr. Francis and the commercial police had sent for you. I said, for what? What I do again, what I do? And I was crying, and they said to me, don't cry. So I just go with them. While they were there at CID, they had me there. My lawyer came and they wanted to ask me some questions. So I tell them I don't know. I have no question. And then from there, they tell me to sit down back. And then when Francis called me and give me a paper and tell me I was charged.
Despite the challenges and setbacks faced in education due to the COVID-19 pandemic, the dengue fever outbreak, and the eruption of Lasso Freya volcano, Minister of Education Curtis King said that he is elated by the results of the Caribbean Primary Exit Assessment, or CPEA, this year. Minister King was at the time speaking on the Issues at Hand radio program on the WFM on Sunday.
At the performance of the students last year, yes, it was the beginning of the COVID pandemic, okay? And we basically did what we are accustomed to do. We had a average of 86.10, 86.12 percentage pass rate among the schools. This year, with COVID-19, with the volcano, or the explosive eruption of the volcano, we were able to register an average pass rate of 84.95%, or 84.96%, somewhere around there. Yes. I mean, that is indeed exceptional performances given the circumstances.
The Education Minister highlighted the performance of students in the red and orange zones who were displaced by the eruption of Lasso Freya volcano.
In any detail, except to say that quite a lot of the schools from the red zone, they had performances above the average. We are doing some detailed analysis because to see if in fact the performance of some of these schools, what we want to do is to look at the performance over a period, like say from 2014. Some of these schools that have shown a decline, those from the red zone, to see whether or not, even from a rudimentary level, because this of course is just performance at CPA, but to see whether or not the performance of this school from 2014 would have been significant.
Minister King commended all stakeholders in the education sector for their work preparing the students for the exam.
A lot of coordination, and they did well. With that sort of performance, I'm indeed very pleased. Now, when I look at it, you had 16 schools registered 100% pass rate. Okay? And then you had an next 12 registered between 90 and 99% pass rate. And significantly, I want to make this point, there are 67 primary schools, but 66 took the exams. And 44 out of those schools scored above the average. That is to say, recorded pass rate of above 84.96%.
The preliminary results of the 2021 Caribbean Primary Exit Assessment, or CPA, indicate that almost 85% of registered students met the prescribed standard. A total of 1,593 from the 1,895 candidates achieved at least half of the possible 500 marks. Of these, 751 were males and 842 were females. There was a slight decrease in the overall student performance this year, with 84.96% students meeting the prescribed standard compared to 86.16% last year. The leaders of the Caribbean community in several African countries met yesterday, Tuesday, September 7, 2021, to discuss ways that the regions can grow as a united front. Kenya's president hosted the first virtual Africa CARICOM Summit under the theme Unity Across Continents and Oceans, Opportunities for Deepening Integration. In his address at the summit, Prime Minister Dr. Ralph Gonsalves, who is the chairperson of the CARICOM Subcommittee on the ABCD Commission, called for the immediate establishment of a permanent Africa CARICOM Commission, which he said will strengthen the cords of unity with Africa.
Transitional entity towards a larger, more ambitious Africa, Caribbean, Brazil Diaspora Commission. Africa has 1.4 billion people. Brazil, 110 million persons are of African descent, half of the population of that country. There are 24 countries washed by the Caribbean Sea, including the member states of CARICOM. Together, these countries number 79. And the population is close to 2 billion. 8 billion people are estimated to be in this world. There are things of a hugely practical nature that we can do to build upon the work we have been doing in a number of different areas, as outlined by several speakers hitherto. And we need to do these things to deepen our integration and our cooperation for the betterment of our people.
PM Gonsalves spoke about his studies in Africa and how it led his political life to engage in the defense and promotion of Africa and Caribbean civilization and unity.
In the 1960s and 70s and into the 80s, many of us participated in support groups for African liberation. In my case, in the United Kingdom, in the USA, and of course, in the Caribbean, for the liberation of Southern Africa, South Africa, and Zimbabwe, and for the independence of former Portuguese colonies of Angola, Mozambique, Guinea-Bissau, Sao Tome, and the Principe. Africa and the Caribbean have, over the years, for over 100 years, have been assisting each other in our quest for national liberation and independence. It is very fitting, my dear brother Uhuru, that you should be chairing this historic first summit with Gaston Brown, my friend, the Prime Minister of Antigua and Barbuda, our CARICOM chair. Because Uhuru, it was your father, the great Jomo Kenyatta, who in 1945 was a central figure at the Pan-Africanist Conference in Manchester.
Kenya's President Uhuru Kenyatta said he was thankful that the meeting was not postponed for another year, since it will allow leaders to start laying the framework to combat global challenges as a united front. Areas that Kenyatta believes the regions can collaborate on include the blue economy, technology, debt financing, and COVID-19.